What up, what up, what up, what up? What up? I can already tell my mic's too quiet. Hold, please. Hello, hello, hello. A little bit too quiet still. Hello, hello, hello. Give me... Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I know why. Hello, 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 hello. Check, check, check. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Check, check, check. Might be a little quiet. Hold on. I set up new audio settings for OBS. And I was like, oh, I'll test them before I stream again, but I haven't streamed in like 2 weeks and I forgot to test them. So hold on, you might hear me twice. Check, 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 check. You know, I like that. I think that's a good volume. Hopefully the game's not too loud, but you know, we'll get there when we get there. Yeah, this all looks good. What up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Saturday, innit? We're gonna play some Dude by Daylight. We're gonna work on recording for some more perks, as always. We are currently working on open-handed, wiretap, and low profile. I think open-handed is probably pretty close to being done. Wiretap might be close to done. Aftercare is done, so we do need a perk to replace it. I would like to put another aura reading perk on, if at all possible. That we can kind of utilize with open-handed, which means it needs to have some range to it. The question is, one sec, just fixing chat. The question is, what perks have a range effect that we haven't done yet? There might not be any, actually. Done Left Behind, done Plunderers. Don't want to do Off the Record because they are changing it again. Yeah, there's not a lot of perks that don't have, or that have like a range attached to the aura reading, is there? Did still sight already, otherwise that would work. We might just have to... might just have to pick something else, I guess. What's a perk we haven't done yet? I don't want to do Breakdown because they're potentially reworking it. Or, I guess, not reworking it necessarily, but... what's it called? Buffing it, I guess. We could do Deadline. Sure. Throw on Deadline, why not? Yeah, so my goal is just to finish Wiretap today, because once I'm done with Wiretap, I'll be done with open-handed, I think. Hopefully. I probably have enough footage for open-handed, to be fair, but I don't want to do it until I'm done with wiretap, because I kind of need it for wiretap. Otherwise, like, it's going to be really hard to get wiretap value, because it's only, like, what, 14 meters? So you kind of need open-handed to... make it a little bit better. I don't even know if this works, to be honest with you, because I do feel like I put wiretap on the gen sometimes, and the killer's within 30 meters, but it's not reading their aura. But it has to, right? Like, there's no way it doesn't. I forgot to put my headphones on. Hold up. Wait a minute. Got new headphones. Like, new headset, I guess I should say. Probably plug that in. Hopefully I like these. I haven't gotten to try them yet, but I've been needing something that kind of gives me I needed something kind of lightweight and that like didn't make my ears really sweaty. And I heard good things about this. These are the G435s. So hopefully these treat me well. I can't hear anything currently. That's not a great start. I'm gonna do a little run behind the rock tech. Twins. Let's see. Not getting any audio. Why am I not getting any audio? Should have tested this before we started the stream. Try again. Audio check. Still no audio. All right, we're going to play with no audio this game. Love that. Nice. See if maybe we can get wiretap up. This is like a pretty good spot for it, I would say. It does not help that I can't hear Victor while he's preparing his pounce. Yeah. Yeah, playing without audio is like almost impossible, I swear. Go for me? Hope not. I doubt it. I doubt it. Rock tech. I can't even hear a thing, mate. Let me fucking tell you. Can't even hear a thing. I have no idea where Victor is currently. Technically, I think you guys are playing without sound as well, because the sound's not playing through anything. Like you guys also can't hear anything, I should say. Once I get put on hook, I'll change it. I just, I gotta wait till I get put on hook. Deadline should be pretty easy to get done, I think, since like it's just showing off skill checks for a bit. Not surprising she doesn't want me. Thank God it's not like a ghost face though. Like if it was a ghost face, I'd be so cooked. Like it would genuinely be like worst case scenario for me. I think it's like furtive, maybe, possibly. Definitely possible. Having some sound cues would go pretty damn hard. '07 to upside down question mark in the chat. Gone but not forgotten. Akani, hear a thing, mate. I'll fucking tell you. Kia. Hear me out. Little smooch tech. I think the main thing is just like I want to make distance from the body. Like if Victor is gonna hit me, I want to try to not be near Charlotte when it happens, if at all possible. I don't even know if she's still in Victor, to be fair, which is like really frustrating. Having some sound cues would go pretty hard, but you know. Excuse me. Excuse. Very close to being out here. These are two different gens that are gonna pop. Nice. Get the shack gate now. The fact that I did this, like, we got this far without literally any audio is kind of insane to me. Do we just leave is the question. That girl's in chase. So probably not. We can maybe trade. Where was the other door? It was back of main, I think. Just gotta be careful because we need to wait out the Starstruck before we get hit. At worst, we won for 1 year. Iron Grasp, Starstruck. Very interesting. Oh, Pog. Okay, audio fix. Let's start with why isn't the audio working? That's a good start. Mad grit. Interesting. Um, no, the volume's not turned down. Sorry, I just changed my microphone. Apparently they're off. Okay, now they're on. No audio still. I just tested them yesterday and they were working fine. It can't be DVD that doesn't have audio, right? If I switch back to... Okay, it's not DVD that doesn't have audio. I am noticing that this isn't working, however. Probably because it's supposed to be this one. There we go. Okay, now you guys have audio. That's good. Big. Now I want audio. I also think I have these on backwards. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Why doesn't it tell you which side the headset's supposed to go on? I think it feels awkward this way, but it seems to be set up so it goes this way. Yes. Okay, audio's playing. Hold, please. We're reading the user manual. It's 264 pages. I just want the English one, please. Connect to your PC. Insert receiver into the USB port. That's done. Press the power button. Okay. The LED turns cyan when connected. It's blinking. That means it's not connected, right? It's in pairing mode. What if I unplug this? Plug it back. Press and hold the mute button. Ah. Wait, do I have audio? I have audio. Okay, well, that's like super weird. I've never had to deal with that before, but okay. Volume check. Loud. Probably like right there. That seems good. Okay, we're so back. You guys have audio. I have audio. I'm gonna turn your audio down a little bit. Looks a little bit loud. Maybe like that much. And we won't know until I watch the VOD later. Cool. All right, we'll just pretend this is like the start of stream again. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Welcome in. Hope we're all doing well. Playing some Dead by Daylight. We're trying to get some footage done for some more videos. I want to put out probably I'm trying to think. Okay, so I have an event coming up on the 25th. There will be an announcement done for it. Probably, let's see. It's on a Tuesday in it, so it'll probably come out like Thursday or Friday the week before, so the 20th or 21st. So we have an event on the 25th. That is, it's like 2.5 weeks from now. So I probably want to do like 3 or 4 more videos, knowing that I'm gonna have to do at least one video with the 9.3 patch. Potentially 2, but they only changed one killer perk when I looked at the PTB. I have not touched the PTB at all. I don't plan to play the PTB at all, but they only touched one killer perk, so I'm thinking I can play, or I can do one video for it instead of splitting it into 2, but it's just going to depend on how many perks they actually change. So, but I'm anticipating that being at least one video by itself, but it could be 2. I don't know why, like, my footsteps feel like they're kind of like behind me. It's like an agent. Yippee-ki-yay. Go ahead and end, I think. At least we'll get lots of deadline value this game. If we could put wiretap on the main gen, I think that would go pretty hard. Little main building action. Just depends on which gens are getting done. I'm assuming the gen that popped was that one over there. I'm not actually sure technically. I think deadline we could probably use it for like 1 or 2 more games, and then we should have enough footage with it, honestly. Assuming that this game goes the way I anticipate. Legion with no Thanatophobia is pretty interesting. Power. That could have been really bad. Fine. I mean, that chase lasting as long as it did was better than the alternative, which was that we were gonna go down. So, like, we were sort of destined to go down there. I just thought there would be at least one more pallet out here somewhere. Like, I thought somewhere in this tile I'd have a pallet, but I guess not. Why not? We're all here. Still on the stump for that. No, that's good. The bad news is, I threw this pallet already. This is kind of a dead zone. Good news is we have Shat. We can go cook. I don't know why I'm seeing Lara's aura. PPH. I'm not gonna reset, bro. I'm just gonna on a gen. Why am I seeing Lara's aura? That would just be like one of her perks, right? Empathic connection, maybe? It's gonna be another Grim. We'll get the unhook, I suppose. Why not? It's kind of tough to get back here. We might have regened ourselves, honestly. Unfortunately, this stack of Grim's gonna take forever to get lifted. My only goal in life is to blow up and act like I don't know nobody. Like the idea of wrapping here. Sure, gamer, why not? Giving my team as much time as I can. That's all I can do. Push deck. Yeah, at least we got the gen done. That's all I really cared about. 4 out then. I don't know about this. I would rather you pop the gate first. Bro. I would love to help, but kind of hard. Something weird. Maybe they're out. I just need to take some hits. She has one more hook state, so like we're in a good spot. We just need to know where she is. That is the question. There she is. Are we slugging? No. Both the gates are open, so we can literally run anywhere. We'll be fine. Everybody should be out, right? Go in here. Rebecca just needed to leave, honestly. I guess. Tis fine. Tis but a scratch. All good. Yeah, I think like one more game with Deadline should be enough, I think. Then what do we want to play? We do like friendly competition. That one's probably going to take a while. What else is there? There's leader. Do leader next. Seems like a good idea. I wonder if I should put a chat on screen for the VOD. When I upload the VOD. Do people care. Like, I think when there's like a lot of people chatting, I think people care a little bit more about seeing chat on the screen. But like when it's not a lot of people chatting, it's kind of like whatever, right? Midwich. It's a shocky, isn't it? I don't know why she turned around, but she did. Window here or window? What is this? What fucking Dune is this? Expo? Take a hit. Take a hit from me.
Nobody runs from me. Nobody.
Run. Hey, you just take it. I'm 90% heal and you just take a hit for me and then go through. I'm just getting healed. Take it down. So many good reasons. See if she wants to Kunal. It's kind of a bad spot to heal in. Forgot I had a deadline on. I was like, yo, why is my skill check 90 feet away? Crazy. I think like one of the things that Wiretap brings value with that like you don't really think about is that because it highlights your gen, it does tell people like where you're working on a gen. And there's perks that do that, but Wiretap actually like gives you the value of like giving the aura reading on the killer versus say like Better Together that really doesn't bring any inherent benefits other than showing the aura of the generator. So there's an argument to be made that like Wiretap is just a better together, you know? Sounds like the gen is like behind me. I'm willing to bet that I'm wearing my headphones backwards. I'm like, why does everything sound like it's behind me? Using my brain for 13 seconds. Like the heartbeat and everything like felt like it was like in the back of my head for some reason. I'm like, man, this feels so weird. Because I never play with headphones. I'm like, maybe, just maybe, I have my headset on backwards. If we could triple a gen now, that'd be pretty sick, I would say. She's still over there. Let's jump on this gym. I didn't want to vault there, like I didn't want the vault with Palo, but like if I fake and she hits me, I don't make it out of the room. So, I have to commit to vaulting the gen, unfortunately. Vaulting the Palo. So we'll just wiretap this last time. Doesn't hurt. We don't have a window down here, so we want to be a little bit careful. It's kicking my ass, man. I don't know where the third gen is. Like, I know there's one here. And the solo I didn't really want to heal there, honestly, but it's like whatever. Be nice if we were. Gamer, stop running. My game bug? Why? What's going on with the Cheryl? Nothing I can do about it. It sounds so much better with my headset on the right way around, let me tell you. I think it doesn't feel like everything is in the back of my head. I would love to go for this unhook, but it's a big but. I don't think it's gonna happen, Chief. I just have to hope that the gate is open in time. It is not open. Make it at least. Just try to crawl out, I guess. Unlucky. I think maybe if I just held forward, I would have made it. It's possible. Hard to know. Yeah, we can take that line off now. Let's put on Fogwise. I haven't done Fogwise yet. It seems like a solid perk. Is this the real Mindo or fake? Fake. Completely fake. What's up, Miffy? How you doing? Welcome in. How are you doing on this fine Saturday? Doing good? I'm also doing well. Doing well. What are you up to today, gamer? What's on your docket? We're just recording for our teaching every perk series currently. Trying to get value. That's cool. It's a... I don't know who downs that quickly. I don't think. It'd be cool if I could get a skill check so I could use my Fogwise. Thoughts? Anybody? The name is so long. Yeah. Wish I could read it. Oh, it's Dracula. Says Doe. That's all I got. I actually don't. Is that Japanese? Is it Japanese? Doshi. I don't know. I can't tell. I only know like 7 letters in the alphabet. But my guess is that it's not something that is appropriate. Wait. Oh, I was like, what killer is that? This is dog form. I've actually had this person in my games like 3 times today, funnily enough. Guess that's like the benefit of West Coast. I think it's Chinese. It might be. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks more Chinese to me because it looks very boxy. But that might just be the font of it. But it does look like there's more Chinese characters in it than anything. But it also could be like Korean, because they have very similar alphabets. So there we were, cranking our generators. Korean's more circular, yeah. Guess I'm sure it is Chinese, but it does have like some Japanese characteristics about it. There's like some Japanese characters in there that I can kind of tell, but it's not easy. 3 lines for some letters are throwing me off. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, it looks very boxy, but like it could just be the font. You know what I mean? I would look it up after the game, but I could I don't know if there, it has to be a Steam profile, right? Because how else would they have special characters? Check it. Double back. You never see that one coming. He's lost. He's looking for me. He has no idea where I went. Classic. They never expect that. But yeah, it's hard to tell. I'm not a expert in reading foreign languages. Asian languages especially, they trip me up a lot. I just know a few of the letters in the Japanese alphabet, and that's it. to maybe make this window. Alloweth him to cook. No, sir. Not today. What's the most? NWF? NWF. I don't speak Youngin. Gotta spell it out for me. Nowhere to hide. Oh. Oh. No, I think I just had scratch marks leading to where I was. So he knew. But it could be. Definitely could be. Okay, you can shoot over that apparently. This is news to me. That is news to me. We're just gonna insta-rip me, huh? That's cool. I like that. I respect it. I prefer if we didn't run the same direction, but you know, I appreciate it. That guy's still just sitting under hook, probably. Yeah. AFK tech. I have Shaq behind me. I don't know if I have Shaq pallet though. That's the only problem. See those moonwalks? Yes, sir. We've been cooking. I'm not great at it, but I've had a few good ones today. Why do they always kick my gen? What did my gen ever do? Yeah, we've been cooking with the moonwalks a little bit. Trying to get better at them. Trying to hold like a nice solid one, but it ain't easy being cheesy, you know? I'm not quite at the Tay level, I would say. Got the thing to block the window, or for whatever reason, I used to be able to do it the way you're doing it now, but I can only do it facing me back. I can do it the way I'm doing it now. Where's the other gen we're working on that one? Just needed to know. So like, you can only do it like where you're facing forward and you're like walking backwards. That feels like way more impressive than doing it facing backwards. Like going forward. I feel like there's not a difference, I guess, because like the only difference is like you're holding S instead of W. But like, I think it looks cooler if you're doing it backwards, no? Honestly, if they just pop the gen here, that would be fire. I don't even want them to come for the save. Fuck the save, just finish the gen. One guy, I guess. Mind you, in the pregame lobby, she was like, my teammates left me to die for no reason. It is devious, isn't it? Some crazy work. Especially after being like, my trash teammates, they left me to die on hook in my last game, so I left them in the exit game. Okay, that's fine. Some crazy work. They're like super playing for Hatch. Left behind, brought a key in. Open-handed. Self-care botany to make sure they stay healthy. We are playing for we're playing for Hatch, nothing else. I think if the Steve didn't give up, we probably would have won this actually. Most solo queue Hatch build I've ever seen. Yeah, not the most. I've seen worse, like solo survivor, or what's it called, Soul Survivor, you know, low profile, like those kinds of things. I just don't know what we're doing. But yeah, it's whatever, you know. Everybody plays their own way. Not a big deal. And I really want to just get wiretap done with so I can take open-handed off. Not that it's bad, just I really want to do overcome. That's the perk I've been waiting to do for a little while. But I want to like commit a build to it. I don't want to just put the perk on. That and power struggle. Once I reach like a good point where I have the majority of perks that I'm working on like built up, I'm gonna do a power struggle build so I can have that one done. Because like normally I try to do all the perks solo, but like how am I supposed to get open-handed value if I don't have any aura reading perks, for example, and like power struggle, flip flop, all those things are kind of the same. Overcome is actually so underrated. I think it might be the 4th best exhaustion perk in the game. Arguably, it's even the 3rd. Like for me, it's like Sprint Burst, Lithe 1 and 2. You know, you can make that argument for either one, and then Dramaturgy and then Overcome. But it definitely could be like Overcome and then Dramaturgy. I think they're both just really strong. But I haven't actually tested Overcome yet, so it's hard to say where I'm gonna put it. My only problem with these two perks, right? And they kind of have the same problem, is that you have to be healthy for them to really work. Unless you have something to give you an extra health state, obviously, from injured to mending. You can't use Overcome unless you're healthy, technically speaking. And Dramaturgy is obviously you can only activate it when you're healthy, so I think that's like my main issue. Whereas like Sprint Burst and Lithe, you can activate whenever you want. The argument I always make is like Sprint Burst is better theoretically because you can activate it whenever you want. There's no conditions to be met, but you do have to bring more perks with it. Whereas Lithe, I think you can bring into any build as your main exhaustion perk, and it will always, like, as long as you can find a window or a pallet. That's the only caveat that comes with it, is that if there's no windows or pallets on the map, you can't activate it. Mainly if you can't find a window. Like, you can find, like, pallets kind of work, but not really. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying out Overcome. That's one I'm looking forward to. The power, I've never done the power struggle build, so I am looking forward to that as well. And then there's a few other ones that I'm like, these would be cool. A little bit of Alien. I hate when there's no gens outside. I feel like Courtyard should always have one gen. It should be like a spawn that always happens, I think. I wonder if you can like put a flame turret on the stairs. Like, how annoying would that be? Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Well, well, well. If it isn't Mix Andreas. What's up, gamer? Welcome in. Happy Saturday. You're doing well. Yo, we're just throwing god pallets? Damn. That is. All I'm saying is I get an alien and then Mix shows up. Kinda suspicious. Kinda suspicious. How do I feel about that? I don't know what you're talking about. Kind of weird that the alien like stopped moving there for a second right when you typed that. Kind of weird. Just saying. How you doing? I'm doing well. How are you? Welcome in. Happy Saturday. We're recording for perk value as we do. Waiting until insert time that Tay's thing starts. Doing good. We vibing. One more work day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You work on Saturdays? You have like Sunday, Monday off, or like you just work 6 days a week? Ruin. They're ruined. I thought the turret going down meant that they were coming out of the tunnel nearby, but I guess not. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it, but I don't think I'll be able to. I work Monday to Saturday. Damn. Sigma grind set. Well, hopefully you can make it. At least maybe in the back half of it or something. It's just not gonna be the same without you. Well, what do you normally do? Well, what do you normally do when I'm not home, Patrick? Wait for you to come back. You guys will do great. I'm not even playing, gamer. I told Tay I'll be in charge of like keeping score or something. I got time for all that. We're all, I said I would play, if anybody didn't want to play their killer matches, I would play the killer matches for them. But I was like, let me just help keep score or something. It's too much work, you know? I can't be playing fucking Dead by Daylight for 6.5 hours. I ain't got it like that. You do great score. Great keeping score. Thanks. I'll do my best, that's for sure. Only 3 to 5 people will be doing this one. That sounds about right. I'm sure like more people will show up when the thing actually starts. It's like that's just how people are. And they're like, oh, I'm not gonna be there, and then they see like 15 people in VC, and they're like, oh, I wanna see what's going on. I wanna see what's going on, and then they'll all join. Wow, Fogwise value. Damn. Write that down. Write that down. Yeah. Wait, you don't get Fogwise aura reading from healing? Bing. That's crazy. Maybe I should like read what perks do before I put them on, you know? Instead of just assuming that I know what they do automatically. Pretty good idea. Bro, okay, so for context, I've never played Dead by Daylight with headphones. I've done them with like, I played with like in-ears, but it's not the same. I got new headphones, so I'm like listening with headphones now. And now I understand what people are saying when they're like, oh my god, the Survivor breathes so loud. Like, holy shit. Like, I've literally never heard the Survivor breathing before until now. Only gens? It's kind of cringe. Me personally, I would give me aura reading anytime I do anything. I would just have permanent aura reading on the killer. Spirit mains go crazy with Survivor breathing. You know? I can see why. Like, it's so fucking loud. Especially once I put my headphones on the right way and I don't have them on backwards. It was insane, like the way that I was like, damn, the back of my head is like hearing everything. And then I turned my headphones around and I was like, wow. It's like really easy to hear things when you have your headphones on the right way. Yeah, I do kind of want to play a game with Spirit. The headphones now and see like how easy it is. Some are crazy. My earbuds let me hear a little. Yeah. These are like $50 headphones. They're not like anything super incredible, but it's very, very different from playing with speakers. Like cheap $20 speakers at that. But I needed, I am really, really fucking picky about what goes on my head and what goes on my body. I'm very sensitive to texture and touch. So I've had headphones in the past, but they always either like made my ears really sweaty or they were like too heavy for my head or like just something was always wrong with them. So I got away from wearing headphones. These are the first, this is the first pair of headphones I bought that were like specifically marketed to be like really breathable, very lightweight, like comfortable kind of headphones. So I'm hoping that these allow me to play long term like multiple hours, because that's the problem I have with other headphones. Is after 2 or 3 hours, I'm like, nah, I'm done. I can't wear these anymore. But this is the first time I'm wearing them. They're very comfortable. Like I barely feel it. I barely feel them on my head, honestly. But it's you know, it's also like, how hot are they gonna get? Especially because, you know, I live in the middle of the desert, so it's cold right now. It's only like 70 degrees in my house, but summertime, like I cannot wear shit for, you know, 3 hours and like have my ears pouring sweat down my shoulders and stuff. So I gotcha. Yeah. Good morning, Miffy. Cold and 70 degrees in the same sentence. I know. How sad is that? That's what happens when you live in the middle of fucking. Excuse me. When you live in the middle of the desert, it's like I woke up, it was like 65 degrees. I was like, oh my god, I'm freezing to death. And like I used to live in Cali in the valley. Damn, kind of like a poet. I know it. I used to live in Cali, and in like the winter time it would be, I don't know, 40, 50 degrees outside during the day, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the kind of weather I want to be in. Out here, 60 degrees if you're lucky. Anything else? Nah, it's not happening. I can only wish for 60. Yeah, I feel that, honestly. I feel that. It's the opposite for you though. Like it's always freezing. I would imagine. I've never been up past the state line of Colorado, but yeah, I'm a cold person. I want it like freezing in my house. Honestly. Like if it were up to me, I'd have the AC at like 55. What is this build we're running? What do you mean? What's wrong with my build? Rest in peace, Meg. She did her best. That's how like 80% of my games go, by the way. Like I see the killer one time, I get put on hook, I die, and then that's it. What's wrong with my build? You don't like it? This is the Mindo build. We've been running this for years. The pioneers have been riding these babies for miles. This is the build. You want to escape all your games? This is it right here. No, I just since I'm recording, I try to make sure I don't run perks that are like super synergistic, because like I want to give, so like when I rate a perk, when I put it on the tier list, it's supposed to go on the tier list in a condition of by itself this is how good the perk is, unless it's a perk that like specifically requires you to run other perks. So like open-handed by itself would be like a D tier perk, because you would never get aura reading without any other perks on, or I guess an F tier perk in that case. So you have to run it with perks that have aura reading, but like fog wise, there are probably perks that pair well with it, but if I'm running fog wise and like stakeout, for example, then it's gonna make fog wise a lot better than I think it is, and so I might put it in like the A tier when in reality it's like a B tier perk. So that's why I run my perks the way I do. The only time I run synergistic perks is when the perks kind of require it. So like Power Struggle, for example, you're not going to catch me playing 300 games of Dead by Daylight with just Power Struggle on and like no synergy for it, because it's going to take me 5 ever to get value from the perk. So I'm going to run a whole build with it, but I'm not like when it comes to most other perks, I'm just gonna run them by themselves. That would low-key be torture. That's what I'm saying. Like I'd done it before, like Unbreakable. This was like before we had a lot more like pickup perks. But the Unbreakable video, that video took me like 3 weeks to record because I could not get clips with Unbreakable. Why not? I'm telling you, like it's literally torture sometimes to record for some of these perks. Not all of them. Some of them are really easy. Even if they don't have like really good synergies, but like even Wiretap, I've been recording for this perk for like 5 hours now. Like today's stream and my last stream. Well, not my last stream because my last stream was the co-stream, but the stream before that, I was recording for Wiretap. So, I've been recording for like a while with Wiretap, and I just have not gotten great value out of it. Lythe and Lythe solo. Lythe would go so hard. I wish I didn't do so many good perks in the beginning. I was like, I'm gonna do Sprint Burst, I'm gonna do Lythe, I'm gonna do Kindred, I'm gonna do Deja Vu. Now I'm like, I've got low profile, I've got open-handed. I'm so fucked. It's also good though, like this is really good practice. Nemesis. This is good practice for like learning to loop without perks basically. Like I have no chase perks, right? So theoretically, this is like a really good way to like practice my looping and stuff because I have 0 assistance when it comes to my perks. Nothing wrong with low profile. Considering I've only activated it once, I have a little bit of a problem with it. Now, low profile is pretty good. I think it's just not good enough that I would like run it consistently. You have Wiretap for chases if you think about it. Yeah, you would think that. But then, like, you run the killer for 3 seconds near your gen, and they look at it, and they go, that generator's pretty progressed. I would really like to kick it, and then your HUD goes, beep, beep, and then you don't have Wiretap anymore. I think it's decent solo queue, unless I'm specifically looking for chase. Low profile? I think it's okay. It's probably going to go, like, C tier. Probably. It's hard because like I do try to rate the perks on when they do activate, but I'm very anti endgame perks. If you watch any video that I've done on like an endgame perk specifically, I usually rate it a little bit lower than I think most people would. Put it on Shack with like a barely tapped gen and boom, through. You got a point. You might be cooking something here. Bye. Look. See, I can't. Like, it took 3 seconds and then my fucking tap was gone. I told you. Got 0 value out of that. Girl. I'm telling you, like, they see the gen progressing and they're like, nah, we ain't fucking. We are not dealing with that today. What did you expect? I expected him to like chase me through the window or something. Like, why are we kicking my gen? What did my gen ever do to you? Infectious. Very cool. Very poggers. And zooming? Yeah, but he can always go back and kick it later. He's got to finish the chase first. Doesn't finish. If he doesn't finish the chase, then like what good does kicking the gen do? Look, now I'm back on it. Now what? What did he accomplish? If he had like pop or something, I would get it. That's the other thing is like you basically have to go like do a separate gen and then go to a gen that you actually want to loop and then expect the killer to come over to that gen. But then like you could have just been sitting on that gen the whole time. You know what I mean? I'm scared. I can't tell if he's like camping the hook or what. No, it's my unhook. Fuck. The other thing is, and I found this out, you cannot wiretap a gen while it's regressing. I.e., if the killer bring is ruined, you can't use wiretap, which makes the perk suck. IMO. Don't at me. F tier perk. Trash. I also can't tell if open-handed works with it. Like, I understand in theory it should, but whenever I wiretap the gen, it does not feel like I'm getting wiretap range on it. Bye. And now he kicks the gen. I didn't kick the gen. Nice. Okay, we're just gonna stand here and watch our wiretap value. It does? That's what I feel like it should. It just doesn't feel like it does sometimes. Now he kicks the gen. Okay, it doesn't kick the gen. That girl ran into a hook. Fuck. Who put that zombie there? Ah! Clipped by the zombie? Bro, I got fucking 360 no scope. Okay, but we're getting wiretap value, right? Like, you know, it's going kind of hard. I popped my gen, so I don't have any more wiretap value, but it was going pretty hard. You know? Nothing scares me more in this game than the fucking, like NPC shit. Yeah, they completed the gen in his face. With my wiretap on it though, like, are we not gonna appreciate that, like, we had 3 people looping fucking Shack? Wiretap? That's like the first clip I've gotten with this perk. Huge value, that's what I'm saying. So happy. Ah. Okay. Let's talk about why we're 99 in the gate. So if we look at the HUD, notice that there's only currently 1 hook state on everybody. Meaning that it's important for us to make sure we have enough time to get out. Now, you might be saying to yourself, if you just opened the gate, you guys would have gotten out anyway. That's so true. You're gonna leave in the clip. You're gonna leave in the clip with you looking at it so much that the zombie hits you. No. No, I'm not. Because that would make me look bad, and then people aren't gonna want to watch my content, right? No, I probably will leave that in because that was really funny. Yeah, we 99 the gate because there weren't a lot of hook states done, and if that guy had put her on hook, we would have had time to pull her and all that fun stuff. But if we popped the gate and then he hooked her and then he downed somebody else, then we wouldn't have had time to do everything we needed to do. Thoughts, questions, concerns? No? Okay. We're gonna do one more game of Fogwise, and then so okay, like metal's gonna be so fucking hard to get done. Like, like it's easy when you're in a Swift, but like doing this in solo queue is gonna be such a pain in the ass. Felix skin is so good. That is a nice skin. I wish I was rich. I would have every skin in the game. Right there, I think you should have, purely because you guys formed an iron wall and nobody was injured except her. Yeah, but I didn't know that until it was after I'd already 99 the gate. Are you strictly doing solo queue? The list is based on solo queue. I do sometimes record in Swift, but I try not to because I think it It's hard. Like, part of the process is me using the perk as much as possible. To like understand how good it is, because I can like look at a perk and be like, ah, this is probably like C tier, but then if I don't actually play with it, how am I gonna know that? I've had a ton of perks. So I was like, holy shit, this perk's actually really good, and I didn't realize it. And then there was a lot of perks where I was like, this perk's really good, and then I played with it, and I was like, this perk fucking sucks. So I try to like play with it strictly in solo queue, but there are a handful of perks that I've gotten clips with in a Swift or just like playing in a duo. Just because like I was already recording, I had the clips. It's like it's not gonna change the outcome of the video, but I try not to like use those as my markers for like how good the perk is. So like Flashbang's a good example of a perk that I was in a duo with for a lot of the clips. It's a Billy in it. Yeah, I was in a duo for a lot of those clips. It's not close enough. So that perk like probably got a little bit higher than it should have. I put it in the C tier, but I did get some clips in solo queue. I used the perk in solo queue plenty. Oh, this game's so cooked. I used the perk in solo queue plenty, and like I still evaluated it based on it being a solo queue perk, not based on it being in a Swift, if that makes sense, or like how the perk would perform in a Swift. So do I strictly do solo queue? No. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Do I strictly do solo queue? No, but I do try to like maintain the quality of the videos by using the perks mainly in solo queue. But it just depends. Like, if there's a perk that I genuinely cannot get clips for, I'll do it in a Swift. I don't care. But I'll just rate the perk really lowly. Like, I'll put it in F tier if I'm like, this perk, you literally can't use this perk in solo queue. It can be as good of a perk as you want, but if you can't use it, then like, what good does it? What good is it? A lot of the teamwork perks get rated really lowly because of that. Like Power of 2, for example. I haven't done Power of 2 yet. But like, how am I supposed to put a perk highly on a list on the list if you can't even use it inside of a Swift environment? You know what I mean? So. But yeah, it just depends. I think if you don't look at my hours the last month, probably, basically, like since I started playing with Tay and since I started playing with Nyx, I probably in total had like, of my 400 hours or something, I was probably like 20 hours of Swift. So I don't even really play with this. I don't even play in a Swift that often. Like the only Swifts I play in are like when Tay does open lobbies and whenever Nyx invites me to play with her. Which, like, both of those things don't happen extremely often, I would say. The totem. How many hours am I at right now? 462, yeah. So I would say like 60 of those hours have been Swift total, maybe less than that. I also just started playing with Vaughn because he bought the game and was like, "Oh, you have to teach me how to play." I was like, "Yeah, good luck with that." But I've been playing with him a little bit more often. Well, like I played with him a couple times, I should say. So I don't really record that much when I play with Swift anyway, honestly. Not a slug for the 4K gamer. You have to. You have to slug for the 4K. So does, if I go pick that girl up, does low profile reactivate or does the timer just stop? Okay. I did forget about friends to the end. Reactivates. That's good to know. It's pretty sick. It'd be cool if it like took away your like you disturbing birds as well. Be pretty sick. Hello, Patch. That was a pretty good low profile value thing. Kind of hard to tell because obviously like, but he knew where I was and then I was just able to kind of run away from it without having to worry. It doesn't block your getting aura red, right? Scratch marks, pulls the blood, grunts of pain, yeah. If I can get like one more game with low profile, I think that'll be enough. I've already got, I think I've gotten one or two. I didn't even know it activated when the last survivor goes, like when the second to last survivor goes down. I thought it didn't activate until they actually died, just because of the way the perk is worded. It's just one of those things that like if you look at old perks, the way that they get worded is so different from how they get worded now. Now they're a little bit more specific about how they word everything. But like some perks, if you look at them, they are a little bit more ambiguous about what it says because they were trying to be like a little bit more like, oh look, like we're putting lore into the perk and stuff. So unless they've like reworded the perk at some point, a lot of the old perks are like kind of weirdly worded. Like this one says like get notified when the killer is looking at you with a clear line of sight within a 36-meter range, right? By it being like, by it saying like, oh, you get notified, you would think that you would get like a notification of some sort. But in reality, all it does is light the perk up. That's the only way that you know. So it's not like Premonition, which I think also says gives you a notification that has a sound cue attached to it. Whereas like nowadays, like if they were to rewrite those perks, one would say the perk will activate and the other would say the perk, like Spine Chill would say the perk activates, and then Premonition would say you would get a notification. Assuming that's not what that's what it says right now. Because I don't know. Do we get the same Billy? This was... That's good. That's fair. He deserved the first hit anyway. So that's like one of my biggest issues with the perks is that their wording is so ambiguous. Sometimes it's very hard to know how the perk functions just by reading it. You have to like put some games in with it to like really know if it functions the way that the perk says it does. Like Tambourine is like a great example. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it says, okay, you get like 20% more skill checks. Okay, well, is it 20% added to your normal 8%, or is it like a multiplicative thing, right? You get 9.8%. And I even reached out to Behavior. I was like, hey, like, so is it 9.8 or is it 28? They were like, oh, we can't tell you that. Okay, I guess. It's like, well, what am I, you know, how am I supposed to know? 'Cause they don't tell you. It just says you get 20% more. Unhook you, but we're not gonna stay here. Right? No. So that's like one of my bigger frustrations with the game is that like the perks are not perfectly accurate to what they say all the time. And so it makes it hard to know if what you're reading is correct and like how strong the perk actually is and that kind of stuff. Okay, gamer. Well, I mean, if you didn't want to heal me, all you had to do was say so. Spell it. I don't. Yippee. Oh, wiretap value. Which is weird because I could have swore he got Surge on that gen again, but what do I know? Oh, we've been streaming 2 hours. Working overtime today. I'm not even like, oh, I'm gonna take a break now. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play for like another hour or so. Normally by now I'm like, this game fucking sucks. Get me out of here. I was gonna stream on TikTok, but I was setting it up before stream, and then I was like, what if I don't? Now we're here. I'm scared. I'm scared to go live on TikTok and Twitch at the same time because I feel like my internet's not going to be able to handle it. I think unless they kick it or it runs out, effects like that don't cancel wiretap could be wrong. I'm not sure either. And my issue is that when a gen is okay, so I said this earlier, but like when a gen is regressing, you can't put wiretap on it, right? So like Ruin counters wiretap. but I guess if you already have the wiretap on, then it's fine. That's where I get confused, you know? I have to read the perk really quick and see if it says like, because I think it says only when they kick it, that's when the wiretap gets knocked off. Otherwise it doesn't. Hello. I'm following you, game. We'll go to the ends of the earth together. I don't know why we're running to this gate. But I've done everything I can do for you. Well, I did all I could do. Yeah, because if someone's working on a gen with you, you can tap it and be fine. Like when they have Ruin. Yeah, that sounds correct. I believe that. I'm gonna read it really quick. Wiretap deactivates when the generator is damaged by the killer or when the timer expires. So theoretically, it should be turned off whenever, if it gets hit by a surge or pain res or anything like that. Right? Because that is a damaging action. But what I think they mean to say is if the killer kicks the generator, then it deactivates wiretap. Now, that just goes back to what I said before of sometimes the perks are so ambiguously worded that it's really hard to know how they actually function, because that's a really big difference. The killer, would you say surge is by the killer or a perk? I would say it is by, that's a good question actually, because I want to say the killer because it's the killer's perk. But at the same time, yeah, it is the perk activating that actually hits the generator. But at the same time, I'll run it back on this question. The killer can only have 8 damaging effects on a generator at a time. So why would perks like Surge get affected by that if they aren't getting damaged by the killer? Right? Because you can only hit a gen 8 times, and Surge counts towards that. But perks like Eruption don't, I think. Don't quote me on that. I haven't tested that yet. But I think my point still stands that if it counts towards one of their kicks, then it should count as a damaging action. IMO, like the way that I would think about it. But I'm also not a game dev and don't know how the game works. Because if it works with Surge, then wouldn't it just say the gen is damaged? I don't know what Surge says. That's my problem. I'd have to read it. When I hear the word damaged, I think of my childhood. No, sorry. When I think of damaged, I think of perks that create a regression event. So any perk that causes a regression event would classify as a perk that should turn wiretap off, theoretically. Theoretically. Check me, mateys. But I don't know. That's the thing. And like, again, that just goes back to what I was saying of some of the perks are just worded really poorly, and it's hard to tell whether or not they're going to work the way that they say they do, or if they're going to function differently than what they say. And there's not really any way to know unless you just test it. Like, that's literally the only thing you can do is just test the perk and hope that whatever the perk says is correct. Otherwise, there's no way to know. I just want to get on the gen. Please, please. Ah! I don't know. I don't know. This is where open-handed, I actually think if you put open-handed with Kindred, it goes so fucking hard. I think that perk combo is so disgusting, especially if you're in a Swift. Like, I know you can just call out where the killer's going, but like just having aura reading around the hook for 32 meters is just so disgusting. I forgot what I was saying. But whatever it was probably very smart, very educated, very wise. If I had to guess. You remember when that thing got added? The thing on the water tower, and everybody's like, we're getting a spider killer. It was like 3 years ago. And then like nothing ever came of it. Nobody ever figured out what it was. Wiretap value. Now I can watch my chases from a distance. I actually really like Fogwise. I didn't think I was going to like it that much, but it's pretty good. Hopefully that other girl's going through the soul. Because I know she has Kindred, so... I'm not looking forward to making this in partner video, let me tell you. That shit's gonna be so annoying. I already know what I'm gonna do with it. Like, I already have like a bit plan for it and everything. But man, I'm not looking forward to making that video. Or like recording for it, I should say. Like having to listen to my character scream all the fucking time. Damn, I'm late. Nah, gamer, you showed up exactly on time. What's up? Welcome in. Happy Saturday. Hope you're doing well. Chatter is never late or early. They always arrive right when they're meant to. Vibing playing RuneScape? Hell yeah, brother. What are we grinding today? What skill are we grinding? I'm gonna say acrobatics. Mining. You love a good mining session. Let me tell you my experience in playing RuneScape. I started when I was 11, 10. I don't know. 2010. Let's say 12. For ease of access here. I very rarely went anywhere except for Falador, Lumbridge. And Val something. 2010. Okay, Grams. Hey, hey. Bill. Gotta be like that. Ain't gotta be like that. I probably should have stayed at that pallet. That's fair. I respect that. Let's go over here. Started in early? Yeah. I started like 2010 seems about right. Okay, run into the gen, guys. I mean, I respect it, but like, could have just let me crawl to the pallet, and that would have been a lot better. Yeah, I barely left the cities, and I think I spent shit, I don't know, 85% of my time fighting the cows outside of Lumbridge. That like are across. This was back before like the Sand City wasn't a thing. I don't even think they had the arena yet. I just sat and fought those for literal years. I'm not even joking. By the time I stopped playing, I had like 50 defense, 50 attack, 50, like I had 50 in every combat stat just fighting the cows. I fought nothing else but the cows, and like, you know, like a goblin here and there, like that I was passing to go to the Grand Exchange or something. I would come home from school. I would hop on. I would grind my cows. I would grab all of the leather and shit. I would run back to the Lumbridge bank on the 3rd floor, or the 2nd floor, whatever it was. And I would put all the cow hides and shit in there and all the meat. All right, sorry. I would kill the cow, stack up on the meat, get all the cowhide, put it in the bank, bury the bones for my prayer, cook the meat for my cooking skill, and then sell all the cowhides at the Grand Exchange. And last time I logged in, I had like 3 million gold or something, which I know isn't a lot, but considering all I did was sell cowhides all the time, it's kind of a lot. And I would chop the wood outside of the Grand Exchange. That was also a thing I would do from time to time. I would go to the trees outside I would go to like a really unpopulated server. I'd walk in a circle, chop the trees that were outside of the Grand Exchange, go put them in the bank, and then go back and do it again. I did that for like hours a day. That's all I did in RuneScape. I didn't do any quests. I didn't do any fucking nothing. That was all I did. For like 4 years. Best times of my life. I get the sense he doesn't want us to unhook him. I don't know if Nia's nearby or not. Good luck, gamers. I'll be in charge of opening the door. Yeah, good times. I love playing RuneScape. It was so much fun. Scratch marks are hidden. Not big. Not poggers. Make it in time. I don't. Corrupt, pain res, deadlock, pop. Ah. 2010. Okay, Gramps. Bruh. That was like 13. I didn't do anything wrong. Alright, we're taking off low profile. Put it on leader. I'm also taking off what? We're taking off all of this shit. Hold on. Get me out of this. Get me out of this house. Do I have what I need to do power struggle? Do I not have one of the characters yet? I think I do. Power struggle. Plot twist. Have I done plot twist yet? Actually don't know. Flip, flop. What else do you run? What else do I need? Have I done plot twist yet? Actually don't know. I should probably run like boon exponential, right? Here's it. Exponential. That will probably help. Do I need this? Unbreakable instead, maybe? Ah. I'm gonna go to the bathroom while this puts me in the game. I'll be right back. Some people do exponential. Well, I'm some people, I guess. You can call me some people the way I do be running exponential. I need to do a video on that one too, so it's like perfect timing. Yo, Kiki, what's up? Welcome in. I'm here to lurk. No problem, gamer. Have a great lurk. Happy Saturday. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, because I can't think. One, I don't remember if I did plot twist, but I do think you kind of need it for this build. Because you don't want to go down on the pallet, because they'll just insta-pick you. So... you kind of need plot twist. Also, the extra recovery speed doesn't hurt at all. Expo you definitely can go without, but I can't think of what else you would put. I guess you would put you used to put tenacity on, but then they changed it, and supposedly they're going to change it back in the next patch. So if they change tenacity back to the way that it was, then I would say run tenacity over plot twist. But if they keep it the way it is, where you don't get you only get the crawl speed, you don't get the recovery while crawling, I would say plot twist is probably better. Oh, I just realized I have to do the invocation perks, man. That's gonna suck. That's gonna be such an awful. Those are gonna be such awful perks, especially the crows one. Ugh. Yuck. If I had a nickel for every time I played against Singularity on this map, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot. It is weird that it happened twice. We need to set up our balloon somewhere good. Mid-map would be great. Looks like we're not gonna get mid-map. Kinda sucks because it's out in the open, but we'll just have to make do. Doesn't seem like he's playing for endgame just yet, which is good. My biggest pet peeve is when Singularities just bring like NOED, No Way Out, Remember Me and all that stuff, and then they just play super hard for endgame, and then they tunnel out the obsession. It's like super unfun to go against, but yeah, everybody plays their way. I think I was gonna say I want to get a one of these and then run over there and help him, but now it's too late. The problem is there's not a lot of pallets on this map. Did she repressed alliance that? Like, that seemed like might need to go for the unhit. Yeah, like look at my boon range. Like there's not even any pallets down there, it seems like. Time to grab this. Just in case he has like a ball on down hook. I'm gonna move my totem over here. Could be more pallets on this side of the map. Theoretically. Yeah, like him chasing the obsession kind of susses me out. It makes me feel like it's probably Remember Me. Miss. It's kind of the best thing I can be doing for him is trying to keep Singularity from using his power on him. It's not super consistent since we're not like in a call or anything and I can't hear him, but at least try to help. Sheesh. Sir. That's unfortunate. If I had triggered it a little bit quicker, it would have been okay. Need to pop this gen. Okay. Yeah, I think if I had gotten my, if I had broken the thing on his back a little bit quicker, it would have been, Let's try to run him over to the boon, hopefully. Kate is on the last gen. We're in a good spot. If we can double up on it, that would be great. Again, I am like smelling Remember Me pretty hard. Which makes me think endgame build, but he does have DMS, so maybe not. Cannot let go of this gen unless he comes over. I fucking hate it here. I'll go get the unhooked. That she's running over to the hook. It's a little scary. Now I'll switch targets. On the Renata. That's not good. Also broke my boom. Stuttering so much. Stuttering is killing me. I need to go find Tori if I can. pallet in range of this, but maybe it'll be enough. There's no way out. Yeah. Makes sense. Where she's at. Like maybe save her. Maybe not. I don't even know if I make it out now.
Gene integrity, 42%.
Guess I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it enough. If they get out, that's fine. One of them leaves, I can at least take chances. That'd be nice. One of them will leave, so I can take chances. Just left. Should've just left. Whatever.
It could be fast, possibly painless. Die fast, please.
I guess I didn't have enough progress to power struggle. It's my only guess. No, I had to have had enough progress. 15%. Maybe I just wasn't under the pallet enough. Your game's been pretty good. We finished. What did we finish today? We finished Wiretap. We finished Open-Handed. We finished probably Fogwise. I might have to go back to that. And what was the other pick we did? Low Profile. So, and I think we did one more that I am forgetting about, but I'll have to check when I go back and check the VOD. Power Struggle is such a weird and somewhat buggy perk. Yeah. It's so frustrating that it, like, doesn't work. I'm vibing on World of Warcraft. I played nothing but DBD for the last few days. I feel that. I played zero World of Warcraft and zero DBD the last few days, so I'm also vibing. But I hope your WoW's going well. What are you doing, like a raid today, or like what are you working on? Yeah, I don't know. I want to say I know how to use Power Struggle, but I've literally never used it. So maybe I just did something wrong. He kind of picked up off of the palette a little bit. I'd have to go back and watch the VOD once I've played with it a little bit more and kind of understand it better. Do you play WoW? I have played a total of 10 minutes of WoW in my life. Time walking dungeons. I'm very casual. Yeah. That's okay though. I guess technically I'm very casual. 10 minutes basically pro. Yeah, that's pretty much it. 10 more minutes than some people have played. No, I played a few years back. I loaded in. I think I made like a hunter. and I played for like 15 minutes, and I was like, I do not understand this at all, and there's no fucking tutorial. I'm so lost, and I just closed the game and I never played again. I think if I had like friends that I played with, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more, because it's not like hard. I know how to play MMOs, but it was just a lot, and I didn't know anybody that played. I just wanted to try it. And I played a lot of Hearthstone, so I'm very familiar with the WoW lore, but I am not familiar enough that like I was like committed to the game. The game is a lot, especially when you get into raiding and mythic. I get on for shits and giggles. Oh yeah, it seems like a fun game if you know you want to like put the time into it. But I have so many games that I put time into, like I can't. My boyfriend asked if you tried the game Bazaar since you like Hearthstone. I have played the Bazaar. I played it, probably played like 100 rounds of it or so. I liked it because I played Battlegrounds, so I liked the Bazaar. But their pay model, like the way to get into, like, I had to wait for open beta to happen, first of all, which took like almost a year. So like all the hype was gone for it, and then when I finally got into play, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then it was like, okay, so if you want to like actually have a chance at winning any of your runs, you have to basically like pay a bunch of money. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that, so I stopped playing. And then now you can't even play without paying for it. So you told me about the pay stuff when it happened. Yeah, it was just really frustrating, and it's really sad because I used to watch a lot of Reynad back in the day. So when he was like, oh, I'm making a game, I was like, oh, whatever, who cares? And then I found out the game was actually pretty good. I was like, ooh, like this could be a thing. Like I could see myself being a Bazaar player, and then just the monetization was so bad for it. That's tough. He still plays it. I think it's a great game. Like I don't want to get it twisted. I love the game. It's a lot of fun, but it's not fun enough for me to put $60 into it every month to stay competitive. So I know it's not really that much, but it's the principle of it. Like, if the pay model is as bad as it is right now, then how much worse can it get, you know, later, kind of thing. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I try to stick to games that aren't super pay to play. You know, I wanna have fun. Not doing 2v8. I am not a fan of 2v8. Like, it's just not a game mode for me. It seems cool, I guess. Not for me. I find it, like, I don't know, 2v8 seems kind of boring to me, you know? Not to say like, oh, you can't like 2v8, just, you know, for me. I respect that people like it. It's very chaotic, and I can see how it's boring because you're not actually playing the game, you're just fucking around. Exactly. Yeah, like I mostly play to content, so it's a little tough to like play 2v8. Not that you can't get content from 2v8, just, you know, like you can't get my content from 2v8. And the other thing being, yeah, it's just, you know, it seems like a lot of fun with your friends. Like, if I had somebody to play Killer with, it'd probably be a lot of fun. But I'm also not going to wait in a 35-minute queue to play one game of Killer. So when Chaos Shuffle comes back around, ooh, I'm going to be playing the fuck out of some Chaos Shuffle, let me tell you. I love Chaos Shuffle. That's my fucking game mode. love me some Chaos Shuffle. Played some Killer yesterday with my friend. It was pretty fun. We got a 7K and a 3K. It's pretty sick. I love that for you. I think it's more fun if you're playing with somebody, but if you're just playing with randoms, it's like whatever, right? Like if I had like 20 people in my chat that were like, can we play 2v8 together? Like I'd play the fuck out of 2v8 because that'd be a little bit more fun, but just playing by yourself, it's like, yeah, whatever. I love Chaos Shuffle. It is my favorite game mode, personally. I don't know why. I just love the randomness of it. It also kind of tests your ability to like understand perks and their synergies and stuff, which I really like. My favorite part of 2d8 so far has been so many people commenting on my name in the pregame chat. What's your name and game? I'm sure I've seen it like a dozen times, but Hex Enchilada. Yeah. I knew that. Yeah, and sometimes it's fun when you get a trash build and have to figure it out. Yeah, I don't know, like I just, for me, like the funniest thing in 2v8, or not 2v8, in Chaos Shuffle is genuinely like when you get no mither and you get matched up against an Oni. So like the match starts, you already notice you're no mither, and then like the blood orbs pop out of you and you're like, oh. Like that shit cracks me up. It's genuinely, it might be the funniest interaction that happens in Chaos Shuffle, honestly. But I love it. But yeah, I love the randomness of it. I love having to like think about your build and like what it actually does and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. I'm assuming Chaos Shuffle is the next game mode coming back. So when is it coming back? I'm gonna guess like early December. This 2v8 is gonna be for a few weeks, and then please don't throw this pallet. Thank you. And then I think Chaos Shuffle. It doesn't have a date, as far as I know. There's no date for it yet. I think it's the next game mode coming. What is this guy cooking? I just want to get my power struggle value, man. What the fuck? I don't think this guy knows that you can crouch to not step in that. Power to him, I guess. I don't know if like healing while you have the drill counts. Yeah, I don't think there's a date for it, but I want to say that they said that it's going to be the next mode after Chaos or after 2v8, but I don't know for sure. I hope it is. It's been a while since we had Chaos Shuffle. We had. What did we have? We had. I think it was 2v8, and then before 2v8 was. What was before 2v8? Why can't I remember? What did we have? What did we have before 2v8? Oh, we had the event queue. Yeah. So we had like Halloween, and then we had the Masquerade event, and then. See, this sucks because I can't even like die on a pallet, so it'll just cage me. I'm hopping on a time walking dungeon, so I'll be lurking for a bit, but good luck in games. Thank you, gamer. Good luck in the dungeon. Oh, the time is walking for you. Whatever that means. I'm gonna add an emote. 7TV. Oh, I'm being unhooked. I didn't mean to do that. Can't even believe it. Can't even believe it. Oh, the deadline was the other perk we did earlier. I remember. Ooh, I remember. He doesn't like me. I need one. Yeah, there we go. How do I add this shit? I have to sign in. Man, shit. This build's gonna take fucking forever to do. Add to that one. Hopefully it added. I can't see. I can't see. Let me pull it up on my twitch.tv/mind the game. Holy shit, he's live right now. This guy's stream sucks. We're gonna load chat, or like, what are we doing here? Oh, it's working. Let's go. Cool. I don't know if 7TV is enabled in my OBS. I don't think it is. Screen reader auto announce. I can have something read chat to me? That would go so hard. As long as I can make it so nobody could hear it except for me. Huh. Yes, I see. Corrupt. Please, please, I just want to do a moonwalk. Corrupt intervention. There's another pyramid head? What it sounded like. Is nobody playing the game nowadays? Like, what's going on? Open-handed? Don't mind if I do. There's another pyramid head. Is it the same pyramid head is the question. There's a good likelihood, right? Oh, this girl doesn't break every fucking totem on the map. I should bring a map with me. That would be a good idea. Seems like this guy's going for more M2s than the last guy was, so. Little chew gen chase. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Surge on pyramid is kind of weird. If I do show myself. How am I supposed to get value out of my build when I keep running into pyramid heads? Actually kind of funny. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. something, something in the month of May. I know that song. That girl is cook-a-thing. I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way? My girl. My girl. Talking about my girl. Damn, that was kind of a clean moonwalk. Somebody clip that and send it to Tay. I would have kept going if I didn't have to turn my fat ass. Where are all the gens at? Need to practice that. That's what I'm saying. I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way? Okay, I don't know how to use plot twist apparently. Plot twist, but gone down on the pallet again. I don't know why I ran. I thought he was going to stay on the other girl. TBH. Easy peasy. I guess you'd say, what could make me feel this way? Surge on pyramids, kind of interesting. Give you that. I give you that. All right, chat. Time of the day has come. It is LG. Last game. Surely. We'll, power struggle this time, right? Is it not spacebar to drop the pallet? Like, is it a different button? Is that what I'm doing wrong? I wish it would like tell me like, oh, you press the active ability button. All good. We'll get it this time, surely. I'm just gonna spam the spacebar when I get picked up this time. Like, I'm not even gonna wait. I was waiting before because I didn't want to like hit it frame perfect where they pick me up and then it doesn't work. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. It's kind of cooking. Dude, another pyramid head? Like, what are the odds? There's no way this gives me enough. I don't think so. If I had a nickel for every pyramid head I've gone in against in a row since I put this fucking build on, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but what the fuck, man? Yo, what up, Angel? How you doing? Happy Saturday, fella. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. What's good? Shit, everything is good, brother. We're alive. We're well. We're happy. How's the stream been? Stream bin's great. You caught us on our last game. Last game of the night. Well, last game of the morning. We're doing great things. And then after this, yeah, we're gonna do our little end of stream song, and then I'm getting the hell out of here. We've been live for 3 hours, which for me is like 2.5 hours longer than I normally, like an hour and a half longer than I normally go. I've been working and hearing some fun stuff here. That's the kind of commitment I can make. You will be hearing some fun stuff when you are here. Sick. How you doing, Angel? Good to see you, fella. Every day is going well. Hope your weekend's starting out well. Been good on the grind per usual? Yes, sir. Hope you hear that. This is like a good setup, right? Because there's like 40,000 pallets around here. Yeah, I want to try to commit to streaming on Saturdays a little more. But I don't want to be like, I stream every Saturday. Just like when Saturday rolls around, I want to commit to trying to stream. At least for a few hours. It's tough. The anxiety of like, oh, like I haven't streamed in a while, so like I don't know if it's good for me to stream today or whatever. Kind of gets to you. And then if it's not that, it's like, am I gonna be streaming at a good time? Like I would love to stream at 2 in the morning, but like I genuinely know nobody's gonna be there, which is fine. I don't care about that. But I want to stream when like people are awake and stuff. If at all possible. That's been the problem the last like week, is I have been just, my sleep schedule has been so fucked. And I was like, I want to stream today, but like I woke up at 4:30 in the afternoon, and I don't want to start stream at 6 p.m. It's like too late. Or I wake up at like 2 in the morning and I'm like, well, I don't want to start stream at 2 in the morning. I'm just stuck like having a good time to stream. You know? Can't stream it in the middle of the night, can't stream in the middle of the morning, might as well just not stream. That's been my mentality. I didn't know it could spawn there. I thought I had to spawn like on the edge of the map. News to me. But yeah, I'm gonna try to commit to streaming Saturdays. Not necessarily Saturday morning. I would love to have like a consistent start time. But my sleep schedule is always so inconsistent that like as of right now, I just want to say like it'll be Saturdays. Often. At least, at a minimum, like 3 Saturdays a month. If possible. And if we can get more streams in beyond that, it's awesome. Throw in like a Wednesday stream here and there. I think one of the main issues with the boon perks is that there's no way for the killer to know what boon it is. I guess like the trade-off is like you don't know what hex perks it is for the most part. Until you like like see it, so it's kind of like a fair trade-off. Keep stomping my boon out, man. Kinda fucked up. There's no way this is enough. I have to have the I have to have the tune up for that to work, man. I need to find a different totem, I think, because like he's just gonna keep snuffing out the one that I put up there. Gotta head out to do stuff, but want to say what's up. Have a good rest of your day, though. Catch you another time for sure, my dude. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. I hope it goes really well, and I'll catch you soon. Check spot. Run away, Tech. He doesn't want to chase me anymore? I give him 2 free hooks and now he doesn't want to chase me? I fucked up. It's kind of fucked up. Basement or something? Trying to like power shovel one time, man. I'm asking for too much. The gate's out. for 3, baby. 0 for 3. Is that the same guy? It's like a familiar name. Maybe a different build, but probably not. All right, chat, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna grab my guitar and stuff, and we'll end stream in a second. What can make me feel this way, my girl? My girl, found my girl. Talking about my girl. Ugh. Uno momento, 454. You just like unlock my phone, please? Thank you. Guess I should just do this on my PC since you guys can't hear that. I think you shouldn't be able to. Let's do as cinematic as that would be. End stream. Hear this? Oh, I know why. Off, 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 off. Okay, that's good enough. Maybe you should keep the gain filter on. Check, check. 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Doodle-doo. Alright, that's good. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, we're going to aim to start streaming on Saturdays a little bit more often. Not necessarily always going to stream on Saturdays, but we're going to try and at least get a few hours in. I want to at least stream a few hours every week, preferably. And at the end of every stream, I try to play a little song. Today, we're going to do an absolute banger. Well known as Miss Gloria Gaynor. I Will Survive. One of my favorites. I'm doing it a few steps up out of the natural octave of it. So it might sound a little funny, but yeah, thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys. And I'll catch you in the next stream. I have to close chat because I can't look at what you guys are saying if you're saying anything. Otherwise, it will throw me off. All right. Happy Saturday, everybody. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. And I spent... Sorry. The lyrics are wrong. Alright, I'm just going to do it without the lyrics. I know the song. First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. And I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back from those days. I just want you to find you here with us and look up on your face. I should change, that's a lot I should have made you leave. Sorry, I can see it's peaking. Hold, please. Alright, hopefully it's fine now. I'm just gonna pick up. I lost where I was. Does anybody know how to play music? Now I hold my head up high, and you see me, somebody new. I'm not that chained up little person still in love with you. And you, God, I'm so sorry. Fuck, I'm just gonna start over, whatever. Who cares? At first I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. Thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along. And so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look up on your face. I should have changed that stupid lock, I should have made you leave the key. If I didn't know for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Go on now, go, walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? You think I'd crumble? You think I'd lay down and die? Oh no, not I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I Go on now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with your body? Think I crumble? You think I'd lay down and die? Oh no, not I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live, I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive, I will survive. Okay. My dad waited until I was finished.